adage in writing called show, don't tell, that I think perhaps is a little simplistic, but is very good advice. When you have a third-person narrative, of course, you can have your narrator tell the reader anything you want them to, but that doesn't mean that you should. The vast majority of information should come through your point of view character. And the closer you can get to that point of view character, in my opinion, the better. You can have the narrator, for instance, explain how magic works in great detail. I can go in and say, like, oh, well, ward magic work, for instance, the magic system in my books is based on magical symbols called wards. The wards work by siphoning off some of the magic of demons and repurposing it and reflecting it back at them. So it's a feedback system. The symbols themselves have no inherent power. It's the power that they draw from the demons that gives them their strength. And the way the symbol is drawn will redirect that power in certain ways. So you can form a barrier so the demons can't pass through, or you can form heat, or you can form cold, or you can do something that'll harm a demon, or you can have it make you a ham sandwich, you know, whatever it is that you want. But I never come out and have the narrator say that. This information comes to the reader through the experiences of the characters. They see, in the beginning of the book, you simply witness the words working. You don't understand how they work, you just know that they do. A little bit later, as the main character, Arlen, who already knows how to draw words, gets more formal training, I can filter in through his training little bits of information about that sort of thing. But that comes in dialogue from other characters, from supporting characters. This is different from just having your narrator tell you how it works. Having the narrator tell you how these things work is a more efficient way of getting the information out, but it's boring. It's like reading a textbook. Nobody wants to read a textbook about a made-up world. They want to have an adventure. And so when you filter in that information, it's important to do it in a way that is exciting for the reader. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the omniscient storytelling style has kind of fallen away for one that's more direct. But there's various levels of closeness between the character. Like Joe Abercrombie, I think, is probably the best at getting directly in the head of the character and filtering everything that character is experiencing. Other authors, like myself, maybe are one level removed from that, where the narrator gives you a certain amount of information, and you know, I filter out some of the basic aches and pains and bodily functions of the characters, just for propriety's sake, if nothing else. Yeah, I think that it's something that you need to be aware of while you're writing and be careful about, but it need not turn into that if you know what you're doing. Does anyone else have a question?
When a reader tells you that they don't like your characters, how do you deal with that? Do you feel that you failed, or do you feel frustrated?
So the question was, if a reader tells me that they don't like one of my characters, how do I react to that? It depends. Obviously, no one likes to hear that someone didn't like something that they wrote, but it doesn't bother me unless they point out something in their letter that makes me feel like I failed in some way. Everybody likes different things. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes and opinions, and that's good. And you want... there have been plenty of books that I've read that I've loved where there's one or two characters that I don't like, and that's normal, and that's fine. If they say, I don't like this character because, you know, you made this mistake in their personality and they acted this way when everything that you've said about them means they should act that way, that sort of thing would bother me, because then I would feel like I made a mistake. But if I create a character and someone just doesn't relate to them well, that's okay, as long as I feel like that character is a solid character that is consistent in my mind. I have one scene in the first book where there's a sexual assault, and a lot of people have written to me and said, I don't like the way your character, I don't think your character reacted in a believable way to that instance. And I know personally that I had done a lot of research before I wrote that scene, and had read case studies and very intentionally had the character behave in a certain way that was consistent with how victims of these sorts of things behave. But that behavior was not intuitive. People like to think that, oh, if that happened to me, I would be angry and I would fight back and I would do this and I would do that. And I think that's how people like to imagine how they would react to things. But when the reality hits them, they find that sometimes you freeze up, sometimes you don't know what to do, sometimes you're scared. And those sorts of things, if you as a writer feel like you made the right decision and you were in control, then if somebody doesn't like it, they don't like it. What are you going to do? If you feel like they pointed out a mistake where you could have done better, well, then it's also an opportunity for you to learn and do better next time. And I appreciate those kinds of letters too. So it's all your perspective. We like to pretend as writers that the opinions of readers don't matter to us that much, that we haven't invested a lot of our self into our writing and a lot of our self-esteem and our ego. But the truth is we do. You have to. If you're going to write something, if you're going to spend hundreds or thousands of hours working on a story and polishing it and go through the trials of trying to get it published and dealing with rejections from editors, because you will have rejections, believe me. When you deal with all of that and the book finally comes out, it's hard to pretend that you don't care what people are going to think of it. Of course you do. And I think that there's a little phase that new writers go through when they start reading the reviews where you take it personally at first, and then over time you kind of start to realize that it's not personal. Except for on the rare occasions when a reviewer will make it personal and say, like, because of the way this character acts, I think the author is a misogynist, I think the author is a jerk, I think the author is this. When they start making personal attacks like that, that's different, and those are the kinds of things that will still get to me. But whether or not they like a particular character, it doesn't bother me anymore. Anyone else?